First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
Andrew, I think that Monaski, I think maybe we're going to go to the Comets game tomorrow night, and then because tomorrow night is the final Vancouver game in the history of the Comets.
Yeah, what do I?
At least for now. Right? I mean, it's a big night. They won over. They beat Syracuse the other night. So they play Rochester 3 more times, 2 times on the road. After this Sunday, it is all over with.
And virtually all of the AHL season is over with. Only one division is hosting a
way out
tournament.
Pacific Coast or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I have some good news on the weather. We're about to do a bit of a switcheroo here, and it's funny because I keep saying this, especially this time of year. When you look at the when you look at the temperature or the forecast on a Friday, and then by Saturday it's switched up 3 or 4 different ways to next Friday, and that's exactly what is going on here.
Sorry.
And that's exactly what has happened here. We were looking at temperatures in the 40s through indefinite times, and now we're it looks like mid to upper 60s finally. But not until Thursday. At least though the sun is shining, it's bright daylight by 5:45 in the morning. You gotta love it. I want to go with Tanya Powers. Yesterday, Dr. Fauci was out saying guidance may soon be relaxed on wearing masks indoors, and we're even hearing that it might even be seasonal, based on if the virus comes back around in the fall. Hopefully, this vaccine takes care of it all. Tanya Powers, good morning. There she is. I'm sorry I didn't have you, Tanya, but now I have you, I think. Test 1, 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
good morning.
Gotcha. So that's good news, right?
It is good news. Dr. Fauci said on the Sunday show that he was open to relaxing the indoor masking rules. He did also say that, we're still getting about 43 or so thousand new cases of the virus every day. I just looked at the figures for the last 24 hours. We had 36,000 new cases in the last 24 hours, which, if you're keeping up with this, because I do on a daily basis how many cases we have every 24 hours, that's quite a drop in the last, month or so. We've seen it go from an average of 65 or 70,000 cases a day. We're now down to 36,000 cases a day. You can probably credit a lot of that to the fact that, a lot of people are getting the vaccinations. And that's one of the things that he said. He said because people are getting vaccinated against the virus, that's one of the reasons he's open to relaxing the indoor masking rules. This, of course, follows the CDC's updated guidance on Friday that said what, a lot of us kind of wondered from, for months now. Can people inhale the virus because it's airborne even when you're more than 6 feet away from somebody that's infected, especially indoors? The answer to that is yes. The other thing that they said on Friday from the CDC that kind of may have gotten buried in all the news is the fact that you can breathe it in even if the infected person has the area walk through it, which, again, shouldn't surprise a whole lot of folks because it's airborne.
Right. Yep.
But they have come out and kind of adjusted their guidance and said, okay, yeah, this is something that, if you're not vaccinated, you should probably keep in mind, especially if you're indoor dining or anything like that. As far as, people getting the shot, more and more of us are every day. It is slowing down quite a bit, especially in some areas. But at this point, if you're looking at people 18 and up, there's, 44.3% of us are fully vaccinated, 18 and up in America. 58% of us 18 and up have had at least one dose of the vaccine. So that's kind of how the numbers are stacking up as far as, because he mentioned, the more of us are vaccinated, maybe we can relax some of the masking rules inside.
I do have to say it's unbelievable that the number of cases of the flu that we had, like 4,000 cases of the flu or something like that, and in the last year, and only some 660 people died of the flu. Previously in 2019, 22,000 people died of the flu. which if you talk to people who get their news from Facebook, it was 220,000 people that died of the flu. Right? Isn't that more people are dying of the flu than are of the virus, which was BS.
Right.
Anyway, what I say, Tanya, is I'm glad Dr. Fauci is relieving all these restrictions and stuff, but I'm kind of enjoying no flu, no cold and virus, and all that stuff. I kind of am enjoying this right now.
I'll be honest. I'm kind of enjoying, being able to have my own personal space back.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sort of enjoying people staying 6 feet away from me. Honestly,
I am too.
I'm okay with it.
Yep.
Yeah. This will be interesting to see. If cases continue to go down and people continue to get vaccinated, and then they can relax those the mask wearing. I've also seen some people who said, I may keep the mask like seasonally, to like prevent against the flu or whatever, and in times of the year that it's worse than that. But we'll see.
I think prior to all of this, I was always worried about what would someone think if I went in. I mean, I remember putting that mask on for the very first time and walking into. I walked into a Stewart's store here, a convenience store, and thinking I looked so goofy, but it was mandated. You had to do it. So I put the thing on. Now I feel like if I walk in, I feel like that's where I would feel awkward if I were to walk in without it. So, whatever. I'm all right with it. I don't care. I think
there will be a lot fewer of us who feel weird wearing one now.
Yeah. It'll be more like Japan, where people walk down the street with masks on every single day.
Yeah. I don't think it'll bother me anymore.
Yeah. All right. Interesting stuff, though. The good news is, though, that we can relax these restrictions. It's something that we've been seeing happening, and I think we've kind of been doing anyway. The states have been doing, but hearing it come from the feds, I guess, is a positive. So, good news. Thank you, Tanya.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tanya J. Powers from Fox News. Right? You remember that first time you walked into a place and there you were wearing a mask?
Well,
you looked like an idiot. Like, what?
I remember saying back then that, walking around the grocery store, this was just before they mandated it. You see someone with a mask and you think, oh, wait a minute, where's my mask?
Right.
Am I exposed to something right now? And then you also think when you see someone, when nobody was wearing a mask and you'd see someone with a mask, you'd think they have something. They're trying to protect us all, right? And then it became a mandate. And now this happened 2 weeks, a week ago Friday. I'm at a local gas station, stopped to get a 12-pack of beer.
Mm-hmm.
I go in, I grab the beer, I'm in line. A guy walks in, no mask. And I noticed me and the other person who was in front of me in line, we both did we're kind of looking.
Yeah.
And then, okay, you don't want to stare.
Look who's abnormal now. It's crazy.
Right. You don't want to stare. So I kind of turn, and then you look back. Did he pull up his his shirt? Did he have it? No, he didn't do it. And I was waiting. I don't know if the clerk ended up saying something to him or not. But,
well, it could have been a couple different things. Could have been, I'm not doing this. This is stupid. Because I hear that. It's like, no, you're stupid. I'm sorry. At this point, grow up and stop being a baby. Just put the stupid thing on. Because it's still mandated by the place you're walking into. They own the property. If you're not happy with it, get off their property. That's how I feel. I don't even care anymore. But the reality is, you also might have just walked in and forgot. I've done that before too.
3 or 4 times, really in the last couple of months, I've approached the entrance to a place and went, you kind of smack your face, reach up for the mask, and
here's what for the person saying you don't need it, it's ridiculous, this is stupid. I say to you, how do you know? How do you know? Well, I know because in Florida they're not wearing masks. That's not true. That is not true. There may not be the mandate, but they're still wearing it. Most people are still wearing it, even in places like Florida, unless you're on spring break and you're 22 years old. And if you're 22, I just got to tell you, you're aging really weirdly because you don't look 22. So what I say is, how do you know? Because we've been between the shutdown and the masks and everything else, and all this mitigation that was done. Maybe is it possible in your mind that it is the reason that it is not spread and the numbers are down as low as they are? And you can't say no to that because you don't know. You don't know.
I just what is that? Is that like a rebel type thing? Like back in 2020, I didn't even wear
I
a
wouldn't
mask.
wear a mask. Well, this whole storyline continued way back into the original pandemic, or at least the pandemic of 1918. The same crap was going on then. People were arguing, lift the mask, this is un-American, it's not democratic, all of that stuff. The same stuff was going on back then. But all I know is it doesn't matter to me. If you're the store and you require it and you own the property and you tell me I have to do this to come into your store, I have two decisions to make. Two American decisions. Number one, do I walk into the store? That's really the only decision. I guess it's one decision. You pick one way or the other. Do I walk into the store or do I decide to go somewhere else where they don't require a mask? Because they own the place.
Well, and here in New York, you don't really even have that choice. Because
I guess you don't.
The other places don't.
But there are places that don't really enforce it. There are plenty of places that don't enforce it.
Around here?
So, yeah, I think there are.
Interesting.
I mean, you
I
need
haven't
to
seen.
travel just a little ways out of your safe zone, like to places like Herkimer County, and there are some places there that might not, Around here, you don't have to wear them around. We don't take that seriously here.
Well, you know what's funny, and I've actually thought this for a while. I'm going to pull up Herkimer County's.
But I do think that we're going to be seeing some relaxation of these restrictions coming this summer.
Herkimer County, this is going back about a month. They had 6 new cases yesterday. But that's where they've been for so long.
Numbers have been low.
6, 2.
They did run into some trouble over November, December, January.
Oh, yeah.
But the reality is it's less of a threat. If you live in Boonville, it's hard to look down into the valley and understand why your restrictions are the same as the people in Boonville, right? Because the population is not as dense. So it is what it is.
It's interesting. Herkimer County did experience a bit of an uptick. This is going back to May 5th, 18, then 13, then 10. The last 2 days have been 6 and 3. But for quite a while in March, I want to say in at least a chunk of April, it was like 2, 6, 2, 8, 2, 3, 2. I mean, that's great when you're only getting two new positives a day.
Yeah. Mike in Whitesboro. Hi, Mike. You're on the radio.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, in New Hampshire over the weekend. New Hampshire, as far as I know, is the first Northeast state to rip off the masks by Governor Chris Sununu.
Yeah.
And I was up there over the weekend, Lake Winnipesaukee, and then later on Sunday I was down at Hudson Speedway near Nashua. And New Hampshire people are glad to have the mask off, let me tell you.
So
very, very few people walking around with a mask on.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to come to that. It's going to come to that point where if you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask. If you don't want, I think that's coming. I think we're going to see that around here at some point, probably this summer. I would imagine. Yeah.
Well, New York's way behind the curve. There's happened. I don't want to argue masks with you, but I get your position and.
Well, and my position is, I do have this element of you can argue the virus all you want, but you haven't had a cold in over a year. What does that tell you? That the mitigation has actually done something. But again, I'm not willing to argue a mask issue. Like if you don't want to wear it, I don't want to argue with you about it. And my belief is if the store requires it, and I'm walking into the store, I have to wear it. Otherwise, I can go to another store that maybe doesn't require it. I mean, to me, it's.
I personally have my own little test going on. As soon as I tender my money, my mission is complete.
Right.
I take it right off.
Oh, you do? Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and then because I'm on my way out. I've just in my own personal test. And if somebody said, "Hey, can you put the mask back on?" Guess what I do? On I go.
You're out the door. It's
I
funny.
Don't argue with anybody.
I was in. Again, this depends on where you are. Everything depends on where you are. Like I say, if you're obviously in your New Hampshire, or you're in Herkimer County, or you're in Madison County, depends on where you are. We were in New York City over the weekend in Brooklyn and walked in to grab a bite to eat for breakfast. And they were really following the restrictions. You couldn't they wanted it to be all touchless. So everything credit card. And I used cash. They pulled out a bin, I couldn't touch it. Don't touch the bin. Whatever you do, don't touch the bin. So, here we are. We're in May now. I mean, the numbers are low. You put the money in the bin. He pulled out a spray bottle and started spraying the money.
Oh, my goodness.
That was early on. That was the protocol.
Was it really?
You went into Home Depot when they first started putting up the plexiglass, and some of the clerks looked like they were working in a nuclear test facility, and they were wiping down between customers. I mean, you talk about absurd. Yeah. And then as you notice, or you go out in society now in New York State, you see less of the squirt and wipe down thing going on.
Yeah. Well,
because the CDC said, well, guess what? It's useless.
It's not. We're not really. It's not supposed. It's transmitted through the air more than anything else. It's not really transmitted on. Sir, although I will say every morning I come in, I wipe down the surface. But I did that. Big thing here. I did that before the virus. That's how you catch colds, and that's how. And if you're in my business, you don't want a cold. It's the worst thing to have to sit through while 3 hours of being on the air.
I was the same way before the COVID thing, and I'm going to continue that the rest of my life as a frequent hand washer.
Yep.
Because I had a mother that drilled me into that in my head back in the 60s.
Yep.
And yes, absolutely, I agree with that. And I get very few colds. I don't know if that's the cause of it or not, but
you know what?
I'm all for that.
You know what I found though, Mike, is it's just like you and I are talking here. I may wear it a little more than you wear it. I don't take it off after I pay like you do. Although I love that experiment. But I'm not arguing with anybody, and you're not arguing. It's like I don't see somebody. If that's what you're doing, that's what you're doing. I think that this gets very, very old very, very quickly. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you don't, I think that's where we're going very, very soon.
I go into the store to make a purchase and get on my way. I got things to do in my life.
Yeah.
And arguing with people who I do not know, whose mind I'm not going to change.
Correct. Right.
If you want to wear 3 sets of gloves and plastic suits and 15 masks the rest of your life, have fun. Good luck with you. But, I got a mission to go in the store. I hate wearing a mask. I've hated it since day one.
Yep.
But I do it because I have to. And but now it's half an experiment. As soon as I get my money, they can kick me out of the store if they want.
Okay.
Give me my change and my my pack of gum, and I'm out of there.
All right.
So
well, I'll bet you fit very well. Fit in very well up in New Hampshire. There's no doubt about it. So, and that's beautiful, beautiful country up there. All right,
I love it up there.
Michael, thank you.
Bye,
I
Bill.
appreciate it. You have a great day. And you know what? Isn't this where we're at?
Yeah.
Kind of, right?
Listen to you two sheeple. You won't argue with people.
Great, but we're not arguing.
Both of you. You're on different sides of the argument, but you won't argue with each other. You're sheeple. You got to have a knockdown, drag out right in the little lobby area of the gas station where you walk in the line forms.
That's where you are.
You guys got to be duking it out there.
Yeah. I witnessed.
Come on, stand up for yourself. Are you not an American?
I witnessed a woman going, and I got to tell you, and maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like there are more women that are, and maybe that's just on my own observation, more women that are arguing in the stores than men are. Maybe
about
I'm
masks?
wrong about that. Yeah, but I've seen more arguing about not wearing a mask. Like I felt really bad for a convenience store worker that was just trying to do this. They don't want to wear the mask. They don't want to be doing this. They have to wear it all day long. They don't get to take it off like we do when you walk out of the place. And this woman was just constitutional right crap garbage, and
oh geez,
she didn't. The rest of us are just standing in line. All I want to do is get my milk and butter and get on out of here.
Too bad you didn't have eggs. You could have just thrown them at her.
Yeah, we start whipping eggs from the side. And
seriously, I mean,
I know.
Look, as annoying as it is to wear the mask, it bothers me to the point where, like, okay, this person in line wants to debate. How old was the person they were
older?
Arguing? It was an older person.
Yeah.
Okay, whether
Female.
they're in their lower 20s or if they're 50 or 60 or whatever. This is a person who works at a gas station, a convenience store, whatever. They've got a job to do behind the counter.
If they don't do it, they'll get fired.
Right, and they are not the one who said you must wear a mask. They're the ones left to enforce it. You want to debate them like the person says, you know what? I completely agree with you. I think this is so dumb. But there's nothing I can do about it. So go argue with somebody else.
Now, I if I'm going to argue, I save that usually. Andrew, what do I have? Oh, it's Rachel. I'll get into that in a second. If I'm going to argue with somebody, I save that for arguing over my bill on a service that I have that comes into my house. I'll explain what happened with that. And as my wife said, it's just, when you have a cable problem, or you have a problem with one of the services, phone, cable, whatever it is, and you do know that when there's an issue, I dread having to make the phone call because I know that phone call is going to last forever. First, it starts with your ninth in line waiting, which is your first 15 to 20 minutes. And then it just goes on forever and ever. But I dealt with that last night, and it was about an hour's worth of my time that I'm never going to get back. But I was livid over the issue, but I'll get into it. Reversing Trump, U.S. restores transgender health protections, which you would expect with under President Biden. Rachel Sutherland with that right now on the line. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, the Biden administration is saying that now they'll include transgender individuals in the Title IX policy and prohibit discrimination based on sex. So people are wondering, well, what does this mean? It has to do with health care and whether or not transgender individuals can access the medical procedures they're looking for at certain hospitals. There have been some lawsuits in the past dealing with religious-based hospitals, like Catholic hospitals. One in particular in California was sued over this when a transgender man who was seeking a hysterectomy sued Dignity Health on that and apparently won. He was going for damages there. So this change won't really affect that much, except when it comes to these religious-based hospitals that don't want to provide certain services based on their religious beliefs.
Right. It is interesting that I find is that if you're younger, you understand this a lot more, and there are less issues. As people are older, I think, and in some cases more religious, I do think that it is completely in contrast with. It's not only that it's in contrast with their religious beliefs, but I don't think they understand it.
Oh, I think you're exactly right about that. And let's face it, in some respects, it's hard to understand. It feels some years like it's harder to understand than the year before. But with this decision with the Biden administration, basically they're just saying that if someone's transgender, you can't turn them away for health services simply based on that alone. So again, when it comes to your regular, private hospital, that's not going to be such a concern. It does have to do with the faith-based hospitals, or if you're just a medical care provider, you're not going to. But I don't know too many doctors that would say, "Well, I'm not going to provide services to a transgender person just because they're transgender." Yeah,
I don't. I can't imagine a doctor saying that.
It would violate the Hippocratic Oath. Now, they may not want to do a certain procedure, but think about it. Gender reassignment surgery, pretty complicated surgery. These are specialists that do this.
Right. You're not getting it done at your family practitioner's.
Or your walk-in clinic, no.
And why can't we have
Stop at the urgent care.
Why can't it be the way it used to be, where these people just had to stay quiet? I'm being sarcastic, but that's exactly what we're really saying here, right? They should stay quiet, not talk about it. That's what it was like in the old days, back when it was, the way things should be. The reality is these people, I think, were tortured emotionally through their whole lives. And now they're feeling comfortable to be able to come out, and we're in the midst of this argument. So it's confusing.
I don't think it's going to be that big of an argument. Like I said,
I agree.
It's been in courts before. So. But not as big as like the cake baking thing.
Right. Now that was a real story, a big story. Okay, interesting, Rachel. Thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks,
Rachel Sutherland from Fox News. What else this morning? Remington Arms is about 200 plus, maybe 220 workers are back and working. And it is interesting, though, that from what I understand, as they're calling people back, it is not being done based on seniority. So you have, the way it works in a factory like Remington is if you've been there for 30 years, you have you have priority over somebody that's been there for only 20 years. Well, that is not being followed, from what I understand. At least word from employees who say, "Yeah, I've been there for so many years. This was my job, and my job is being done right now, but I have not been called back." Kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
But not surprising, would you say?
Well, is it a cost-cutting measure? Is it the guy who's
I think it's basically the new Remington saying we're going to call back the people who we feel are better suited for the company. Now, and when I say that, maybe someone who is younger, who doesn't have potential health issues, who knows what they're looking at. My guess is while they're not honoring seniority, I'll bet you they get to look at records of employees, how many sick days, how many this, that, the other thing. I can't imagine they aren't.
Interesting.
So I all I'm getting is what I hear from employees who say they have not been called back, and they're fearing that it might be because of their age. Richmond Italia, managing partner for Rem Arms owner Round Hill Group LLC, said in an email yesterday the company has called back 230 workers to the Ilion plant. The plans for starting production with the Model 870 shotgun line is what is expected. About 120 hourly workers were among those who have been called back to work, which brings the total to about 230. That's where they say they're going to settle in for the next period of time while they try to get the company back up and running. Can you imagine? That's where we are with Remington Arms right now.
With 230, it was what, around 800?
Well, I remember when, so if you go back to 2012, 13, 14, somewhere in there, it was 1,400 employees. They were growing right up when you got to, I think that all of that came to an end when Alabama went online, when the SAFE Act went in play. But prior to that, we were 1,400 workers. And they're now getting back up and running, and hopefully this will be successful for Remington as they try to get things back operational. Remington's previous owner filed for reorganization under Chapter 11 U.S. Bankruptcy Code last year after suffering falling sales. Round Hill purchased the gun portion of the business in bankruptcy court. So there you have that. We were talking about the weather earlier. It does seem like a warmer trend is on the way, right? Temperatures in the 60s, maybe upper 60s, maybe reaching 70 by later in the week and into next week.
Yeah, and drier, too. I mean, we got hit with, what was it? I'd have to go back and look, but it felt like it was just constant rain. What did we get, 9 days? 8 out of 9 days? 9 out of 10, something like that?
It was wet. Grass is certainly growing. There's no doubt about it. Remember, we had about a month ago, we had a dry spell where there was a burn, anti-burn order in place, burn restrictions. So you couldn't burn, I don't know, a bonfire or a little burning papers or brush or whatever. There's another scam out there. I got hit with one yesterday on Facebook where I was, is it Messenger? Is that what it's called? Facebook Messenger?
Yes.
So you can have it on your phone. All of a sudden it pops in. There's someone who I know that says, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I respond. And all of a sudden he starts pitching me on some Bill and Melinda Gates thing. There are benefits out there. I could take it. It's free money. I'm like, why is he coming after me like this? So I said, well, how do I know you? And so I was definitely speaking to a live person because they said, well, how could you say something like that? That's offensive. I'm like, I want to know who I'm talking to. How do I know you? And then the person stopped communicating. Now, maybe there's somebody, maybe it's somebody who I know who's like really offended that I asked that.
No. I've had people.
I think
reach
they've
out
been
before.
hacked.
I've had a Publishers Clearinghouse type situation, or not really specifically Publishers Clearinghouse, but somebody says, "Hey, you can be eligible to win this money. Your name's been selected," and it seems pretty real, and it comes from a person that I know, and their account must have been hacked, or there was a duplicate account.
But I've never seen it with a live back and forth.
Yeah, so I have.
Oh, you have?
On Messenger, because you can even see them typing.
Yes.
So I've had two. I had a woman reach out who claimed, and again, I think her account was hacked, I think in all these cases, the account has been hacked. She claimed that she had won the Michigan lottery, and it was like $47 million.
Oh, she wanted to share it with you.
She wanted to share it with me. And she was looking for people just like me. She said, well, I'm looking for people just like you. And I just wanted to reply, what, suckers?
Right.
So I kind of played along a little bit. There was a couple of back and forths. And ultimately, I asked a couple of questions, and the person just stopped replying. And then there was another case. Andrew, you said it was like a publisher's clearinghouse.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember. Okay, so do you remember we talked to a guy named Chuck who used to work here in the sales office?
Mm-hmm.
And his Facebook account had been hacked.
I remember that.
And he kept pushing me on this, enroll at this website for these benefits from New York State. And I was like, I don't understand, why you're pushing me to do this. And he just went on and on about how great the program was. But obviously, it was a scam. Someone
and
hacked
you're
his
thinking
account.
you're hearing from a friend
Correct.
on your Facebook page.
I said to him, I go, are you trying to come on the air to talk about this program? Like, I don't understand. I thought he worked for like some New York State, whatever the name of the organization was. And then so finally, because obviously a lot of people here knew him, I called his cell phone. He had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Why do you keep messaging me about this program? He's like, what?
Yeah.
And so we talked on the air, and he had several people who were targeted on his Facebook friend list about this.
So yesterday I had so while that is going on, I've got this person clearly trying to scam me into something, and I'm trying to figure out who it is. I'm also on the phone with the cable company arguing over. I signed up for this service, and I signed up for a 2-week period.
Yeah,
it's a 2-week free period. And I just try it out. There's no obligation, but I do need your credit card. Once you decide you're going to use the service, then we're going to charge you.
Well, and that's the other
Which
thing.
is
When your trial expires, they begin charging you.
That's correct.
Yeah,
but the trial I signed up on Sunday. I signed up Friday, and I activated it on Sunday.
Okay.
And then last night, I see the charge come across my account. And it was like $130, which I signed up for the gold plan because I wanted to try out everything for the next 2 weeks. And I said, but if I don't want this plan, I can reduce down to one of the others. Obviously, I'm trying to save money on my bill. That's why I'm doing it. It's my latest obsession is to try to cut the cord a little bit and save a little money. Well, I was charged. How could I be charged? The 2-week period isn't up. So
we're just going to hold the money for you, sir, in case you want to spend it. We're holding it.
I made the call, and the guy said, oh, well, they should have explained to you that we charge you the minute you activate it. And then if you decide not to use it during the 2-week free period, we'll give you your money back.
Like I said, sir, we just want to hold your money in our
exactly
hands
it.
Until you decide to take it back.
And I said, either I get my money back or I'm canceling the whole thing, and then you're just going to give me my money back. So I'm in the free trial still, and they refunded my money. But maybe explaining that to me when I signed up might have helped. I would have expected to see that come across.
But, sir, you really aren't losing $130. We just want to
give it back to you.
Your money.
Yeah. Think about how many people that's being done to. And what do they do? They just put it into their bank account and make a little interest on it from thousands and thousands of people across the country. But it isn't even that. It isn't. Had you told me that was what was going to happen, I probably would have been okay with it. So it is what it is. But I'm just saying, my night last night was just consumed with this whole
thing. How long
thing.
did it take you to go through that?
It was easily an hour between that and then the Facebook scam coming through.
So can I give you a quick one as well that I've been dealing with? I had I had another procedure on my knee in January, torn meniscus.
Mm-hmm.
I had to repair it. So I went through all this, and you get several different bills. You get like a bill from the doctor, you get a bill from anesthesia, you get a bill from the place that they did the surgery in, right? You get a bill from everybody and their mother. So one of the bills I got was a few $1,000s, okay? And I've already paid a nice chunk of money, but anyway, this bill was a few $1,000s, and it in the credits insurance adjustment category, it said 0. So I reached out to them, and I said, I don't understand why insurance didn't cover any of this at all. I mean, I don't have great insurance, but I mean, they didn't cover any of this. So the woman says, no, it declined. You're not active. All this stuff she was telling me, which didn't even make sense to me. So I reached out to my insurance company, and I have to tell you, I was very impressed. The woman said, "Okay, we're going to call them together. We're going to figure out why they didn't bill us at all for this." Mm-hmm. And we went through the whole thing. And when she got the woman on the phone, she was doing the same thing. Not an active user. This is not an active user. We can't bill the insurance. And she's like, "I'm with the insurance company. I'm looking at his information. He's clearly an active user." So we went through this whole thing. Now, I don't have an updated statement. I don't know how much they'll cover. But my insurance company was on the phone with this particular it's like a subcontracting thing. It's a third party, okay? Is on the phone with this
always a third party.
On the phone with this third party, like really arguing on my behalf. And I actually thanked her afterward. I'm like, "Thank you so much. Hopefully you saved me a couple $1,000s."
Nothing wrong with that. But these things take so much time.
They said we'll hold your account for 30 days and then we'll talk to you again. And it's like, it takes that long for the billing to go through.
Yeah. Herkimer College which is no longer HCCC, right? It's now Herkimer College.
HC.
HC has won another national sports championship. And it's their esports.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they won the Division III national championship. And is it Division III or in esports? Can you be? Is it just one division? I don't know.
I don't know if there is 3 separate divisions.
You're right. It might just be national champions. I'd open it up, but unfortunately, the company that the OD has that handles their digital can never seem to remember my account. And,
and that you
as long as I'm talking about being PO'd right now, I can't ever log into my OD account, ever. And when I do log in, I go back the next day, and they've completely forgotten that I exist. Anyway, but that's a big congratulations going out to Herkimer right there. Herkimer College, which, by the way, SUNY and CUNY, as Andrew had in the news earlier, both those all state universities and colleges are requiring the vaccine, according to Governor Cuomo yesterday. And they're not alone. He's saying that he feels that private schools should follow suit. Many are already doing it. I think a lot of schools have announced, if you want to come back to school in the fall, you're going to have to have the vaccine. Kind of interesting. And, of course, yesterday being announced 12 to 15-year-olds will now be able to get the vaccine. What does that mean? We'll talk to Dr. Hall later on. When does that go into effect and all of that? We'll break, though. News is coming right up. Andrew will have an update for you. It's a Tuesday morning.